The transformational reformatting sequences and master expansion profiles offered in this seminar are calibrated exclusively for each registered participant. Unregistered listeners can sign up for this seminar at www.serenityvibrationhealing.com. Each of the topics and the dialogue in this recording are designed to gracefully identify embedded formats, bringing to light the seeds and foundations of limiting current life belief systems and genetic imprints. These limiting imprints create obstacles and barriers to clarity, focus, health, vitality, abundance, and a harmonious life. The SVH tools utilized to reformat these barriers and blocks are implemented solely by the Creator after you have approved the clearing. For the transformational reformatting sequences to be fully implemented, this conscious authorization must be given. Anytime you are guided to view a screen in order to ask the Creator if it is in divine alignment for the Creator to implement the clearing sequences for you, the Creator waits for your agreement to go forward before the work can be seamlessly and gracefully applied. For now, sit back and relax. This Master Maker New Life seminar is going to take you on a journey of discovery, freedom, and sovereignty, helping to emancipate you from millions of limitations that have held you from defining and fully realizing your destiny.
Hello, I'm Jill Marie, and this teleseminar series is Change Your Story, Change Your Life. This whole New Life channel teleseminar series is a progressive map aimed at guiding you through profound, life-changing steps that assist you to create the life you design rather than living the life that was dealt to you by the cards of genetic and current life imprinting. Today we're going to step away from old roles and patterns that have been locking into the same old story, and we're going to change your expectations. It's time that you lived your dreams, and even more profound is that it is time for you to dream bigger. It's time to expect more and to step into exceptional roles that lead you to life experiences that live up to the limitless potentials that you are truly capable of achieving. Let's design the life you yearn to live and create that new story right now. The very first step in any manifestation formula is to define the reality that you're choosing to create. If you're a participant of the Teleseminar 1, then you already have a focused vision that we'll work with. If not, you'll design one. When you fully design a reality that you desire to manifest, the next step is to fuel it. But what if everything in your life screams, no, you can't have it. You don't deserve it. It's not safe for you to have it. Or a little voice in your head says, even if you get what you want, you won't be able to keep it. Nanny, nanny, nanny. Or maybe it's a loud voice. Or maybe it's not a voice at all. What if the reality within your life is saying it? See, your story up until now speaks volumes. It speaks through the clothes that you wear, the car that you drive, the house that you live in, and the zeros following the numbers in your bank account. Your story, right up until now, reflects your childhood, adulthood, and all the stages of your life and all the roles that you've played. It's like a movie, really. So, what is your story? If you're anything like me, the past has been so restricted that new layers are in place, shifting the old story to hold a vision of new players and new experiences. With my life, the SVH tools shifted my story in stages. It's like painting over dark walls with white paint. Sometimes the paint covers over the old color with one coat, and sometimes it takes several coats of paint to fully cover the previous color. Now, I'm not saying that my life was a black nightmare, but there have been many layers of it that were limiting my focus and clarity and alliances with the paths that I was destined to walk. I think most of us have chapters in their story that would benefit from a rewrite. I'll give you an example. If someone's story of their childhood and adolescence and adulthood was idealistic, with just a few rough patches to reformat, one coat of paint, or in the example of utilizing the SVH tools, one comprehensive clearing, that might be enough to release embedded imprints that are blocking that individual from achieving the greatest levels of sovereignty, clarity, focus, and alliances with their ideal story. But But what about someone that grew up in a household of violence, alcohol, and drug use, where they were neglected and molested and suppressed with no ability to set boundaries or to claim sovereignty? The SVH clearing sweeps move through the life, reformatting layer by layer, assisting to release alliances with that old story, healing the wounds of dishonor and oppression. Coat by coat of white paint, the new story is layered in to help release the victimhood of their foundation and uplift the life to hold the imprints of safety and neutrality, something that they never got when they were growing up. Now, the example of someone that grew up in a family where corporal punishment and shame and blame and hardship was the norm, there can be as many as 1 million beliefs and perceptions associated with every minute of the day. Each of those imprints layer into one another in a labyrinth of fear, repressed feelings, hopelessness, and foundations of apathy, uselessness, and lack. Worst of all, most of those perceptions and beliefs that anchored into the early stage of the story of the first 8 years of life are misperceptions. Somewhere in the mix, this person learns how to be in relationships with others and, of course, develops their levels of deservedness. In this example, the SVH tools sweep through the life to occurrences that laid foundations that are reflecting less and lack, and they reformat layer by layer, each one transforming the darkness to more light, uplifting the story to reflect worthiness and a strong alliance with the truth of the now story. Covering over the old dark paint, releasing alliances with the old story is important. The now story is the one that we're working with. We build the new story on a foundation of light that reflects a full-on emancipation from any energetic attachment to limitations in the life story that led up to now. Living in the now requires us to let go of any part of the old story that blocks you from embracing the freedom to elevate your story to one that is exactly what you desire. Throughout the last 5 minutes, the SVH tools have opened up the book on your life. And right now we're building on a tremendous renovation. The Creator, your higher consciousness and soul, and your future ascended master self are all working in concert to lay a foundation of self-empowerment and value, hopefulness and sovereignty right into your story. By the end of this seminar, you're going to experience what can only be described as a full rewrite. Your own hand is holding the golden pen of light with the Creator as you both design and define the areas of your past story that has the potential to limit your evolving story within the eternal now and the future. We're looking for the tiniest seeds of apathy, self-degradation, and hopelessness. Any alliances with the old story that drags you backwards rather than forward, as well as any limiting experience, reality, or choice that you consciously or unconsciously define yourself by. No matter how deeply buried in the layers of perceptions and beliefs and fears and pain, these must be unearthed and released to let the sun shine in and disengage the triggers that have held you stuck. So just sit back and relax. This is a painless system of discovery. Your data sorting brain is the greatest resource that we're stimulating as you listen along. So let's continue with our detection and unearthing of old chapters that can be spiffed up to reflect a lighter story. Creating a new story for the past is going to be easy. We have a new SVH tool that activated about 5 minutes ago. That tool is tracking the threads of your old chapters of real and misperceived events and your perceptions of them. It's a great day for a hunt, and a great day for bringing truth to light and illusion into the face of that truth, so that layers and layers of deceptions can be shown for what they truly are. They're lies. Now listen up. True or false? You are enough. True or false? You are less and lacking. True or false? You're good. True or false? You're bad. True or false? You are loved and lovable. True or false? You are unworthy of loving. You don't have to answer those questions. Your body and mind already answered them. Sometimes the body and mind are in conflict with the suppositions, though. But go ahead and rewind this recording and pay attention to your physical responses to the questions. As you view yourself as a whole, are you breathing deeper? Are you more alert or a little bit stiff? Or are you relaxed and unaffected by those questions? Either way, the body knows what it knows and gave up your secrets. And so did your mind. I have some more probing questions for you, each designed to unearth the threads and the layers of embedded formatting that are just laying there waiting to be found. So bear with me. This new SVH tool is amazing because it can identify seeds of unbalance that are hidden in the recesses of the deepest wells of forgotten events and memories. So let's start digging. What did the people in your social and home environment think about you personally? That's a very important question. And what did their body language say? What did they say to others about you? Did they show you and your family respect, or did they have opinions about you and your family that were less than kind or honoring? And what was the opinion of your teachers? Did they think that you're smart or dumb? Were you a good student or an average student or a poor student? If you had siblings, were they smarter than you? Did they or the other kids in your class get better grades than you? And were your parents educated? Were you proud of them or ashamed of them? Were they proud of you? When they spoke to you, were they honoring and supportive? Did they teach you to love yourself and to set firm, friendly boundaries? And when they looked at you, did they have the look of a parent gazing upon a priceless treasure? Or did they look at you like you were a burden to them? Do you think they were glad you were born? In fact, let's think about that a minute, because your body and mind can remember every detail of your birth. Were you celebrated by your biological mother and father? Were you wanted? Were they glad that you are the gender that you are? Then as you grew up, did you ever wish that you were taller or shorter, more handsome or prettier, smarter, or that you could do or be something other than who and what you are? And did your parents secretly or openly wish those things too? Yikes. Well, let's talk about being enough. Have you ever had a time in your life when you felt uncomfortable because you didn't fit in, or you didn't like how you looked or you felt, or that your house or your car or your clothes or maybe your education or your vocabulary were lacking, or you didn't like the way your voice sounds? What is enough? I was thinking the other day about old westerns. In the storyline, there was always some notorious gunfighter that was coming to town. And of course, there were young men that just knew they were faster than that gunfighter. So they would call the guy out into the street and they'd draw their guns and one of them would fall. Well, if it was the gunfighter that fell, the young fellow would become the new fastest gun in the West, so to speak. And then everybody would want to call that man out into the street, or young boy. Is there something within you that needs to prove that you're enough or the best? Or do you know that you're enough and the best? See, if we have to prove that we're the best, then what does that leave us with? It sets us into this space where we're always looking to be called out into the street, isn't it? We aren't gunfighters or prize fighters in a ring. And we need no opponent to prove our worthiness and our willingness to elevate to levels of mastery that are our birthright. We are born enough. The only thing that screams out that we are less is that old story. Right now with this clearing, we're developing our new story by deactivating the parts of the old story that limit our ability to believe the new story. Listen, if you've never skied, why would you go to the top of the highest ski hill and race an Olympic skier downhill? You wouldn't. I mean, confidence is fabulous, and knowing you can do anything is a given, but practice and giving energy to the development of skills helps you to master them. Too many times, spiritual people or just regular folks out there just describing, they sit back hoping and wishing and dreaming their story, with no real action or development of the storyline behind the thought mode or the prep mode that does lay foundational creation energy flows. But without action, you just end up with a pile of dreams and a pile of stuff. I used to know a guy that wanted more than anything to live in the wilds of Alaska. It was a nice aspiration. I mean, he spent years collecting everything that you could imagine that he would ever need. But in the end, he put no forward motion into that story. And when he died as an elderly man, all the stuff he collected was divvied up between his kids. Now, he was enough, and he had enough stuff to get the job done. But he lacked that extra something that takes the dream out of the dream mode and into doing and being mode. Let's identify every time in your life that you stayed in idle, that you didn't shift into gear and move a dream forward into a chapter of your life. Dreaming's good. Don't get me wrong. It helps you to conceptualize. It helps you to define your ideals. Remember from the previous seminar, define, direct, activate. When you fully define the reality that you're choosing to create and you direct the energy to flow to that reality with focused thoughts, words, actions, then creation energy activates your defined steps to fuel the ultimate goal. When you dream and ponder the story that you desire to fuel, the next step is to direct the reality that you're choosing. Direct it into your story by taking the ideas that you have developed into like an action mode, an action role. Until there's action, the creation energy is no activated to form the reality that you're choosing. I like to use the analogy of the railroad train, because until you build the track that the train travels on, you could dream all day of having the train pull into town, but it remains a dream. In life, you can dream about meeting the perfect mate, building a dynasty, learning to water ski, write a book, or anything else. But until you lay track and create forward motion that lays the foundation for these realities, how are you going to find that perfect mate or build that empire? And if you don't get in the water and grab onto the line, how are you going to water ski? And for good gosh sakes, books don't write themselves. There needs to be an action. So back to that earlier question. Is there something within you that needs to prove that you're enough or that you're the best at something before you can step out and take a chance? Do you block yourself from the experience of learning and building upon what you know because you're embarrassed to be perfect right from the start? Do you reject opportunities that are right there in front of you because you don't want to start at the beginning? You don't want to start out in the mailroom. You want to skip right to CEO. Even without experience, no honed skills. You want to be like the very top rung. Well, that's like applying for an interpreter's position when you don't speak a foreign language. But don't despair. There's a reason why you have that drive to reach to the top, and it's not arrogance. You're tapping into the authentic self, the one that knows everything and knows your infinite potential. That's cool. In fact, it's more than cool. But it's probably not a great idea for you to become a circus fire eater or jump into the ring with the ultimate fighting champion till you've actually had some coaching. Ouch. So let's take this theme a little bit further, because we want this clearing to unearth all that blocks you from instantly reaching your highest ideals, and to get rid of anything that blocks you from allowing the development stages to unfold in divine timing. You'd also like to develop a storyline for your life that represents self-acceptance and worthiness, openness to receive. One of the biggest dream killers is fear. Fear fuels lies at so many levels. There are fears about being good enough, or fears that people will think that you're bad, or even fears that you are bad. If you think it about yourself, wow, it must be true. Let's explore that for a minute, because once you have imprinted within you that you're bad, you can be good forever, and if asked, your body and mind will still respond that you're bad. It'll likely also respond that you're good too, but the whole tug-of-war pulls you in opposite directions, and it leaves you with an imprint of both. And we don't want that. Of course, the same thing occurs with your perceptions about being loved and lovable. Now, as silly as it might seem, a parent's disgusted look and body language and words when changing a poopy diaper on a baby can imprint so firmly. It's likely one of the very first and strongest suppression profiles that children anchor firmly in their worthiness profile. Imagine this sweet, innocent little baby looking up at their mommy or daddy or babysitter's face, and they look at them and they are just cuddling in them, tickling them, and loving on them, and then they open up that diaper and the face looking down on them. Ew, ick! And then they're wiping, and you just look at the baby's face and see that fear of displeasing the parent, fear of displeasing whoever is changing the diaper. And also, they can smell. They know that poopy smells. So now they realize that they have created something that has displeased that person so much that they have rejected them at so many levels. Naturally, all of these imprints are going to be reformed when you view your screen later, but it does make you think a little bit, doesn't it? Now, what else out there has imprinted that we're dirty, weak, helpless, undeserving, and in need of punishment? Actually, punishment is deeply imprinted into our old story, mainly through collective consciousness, but most everyone has experienced punishment in some form or another. I read or heard something once that made kind of a huge impression on me. What they said was that humans are the only species that continues to punish itself for perceived failures and wrongdoing. Now, our clearing is going to address those times in your life that you ruminated or beat yourself up for less than ideal choices that you made. Let's look at how we've been conditioned to be punished. I used to know some people that constantly reminded folks about their indiscretions or failed attempts, and even reiterated whole stories about toxic events that they were a part of. That's another way that we can punish ourselves, by letting others punish us with their stories. Punishment of self for the choices made can be a catalyst for the re-examination of events. But sometimes it can be used to further punish the other players in the drama, too. So imagine what it must be like to sit and listen to a story where you were played as the villain. Now, the energy flows to fuel punishment, embarrassment, and shame, especially if the story is told to others. Now, it's one thing if they're telling you again and again about what you did, but if there's people around that are hearing the same story, oh my gosh, imagine how embarrassing that would be. Of course, this is all the past, so the past is the past now, and the behaviors that we are expressing in the now are what's really, really important. Releasing attachment to that old stuff is where it's at. I always find that the motivation for fueling this kind of humiliation of others is likely unresolved anger, maybe some victimization, the need to make the other person or persons suffer for their past actions. In fact, sometimes it's further fueled by a belief that if the events are released and the uninjured party or parties might think that it's okay to do it again. Now, a lot of times you see that in relationships with husbands and wives because the man or the woman don't want to let go of the problem because they want to keep really digging it in, because if they dig it in deeper, boy, that person's really going to be sorry and they're never going to do that again. Well, we need to go after that theme. We need to do it big time, because it keeps the old injury alive and it helps build a wall between the injured party and the one or ones that played the mental, emotional, and physical injuring role. It's time to release all that stuff. He said, she said, he did, she did, it's all past. Time to move on and create that no dishonor can be fueled from that moment forward, like right now. No more shall I allow myself to be dishonored. No more shall I allow myself to dishonor others. This helps the injured party to release their shame and their embarrassment for allowing themselves to be treated that way. It also helps the injuring party to release their shame and their need to be continually punished. And it assists them to take on a new role that is free of any need or desire to perpetuate the old anchoring and supporting and acceptance of being reminded of past indiscretions and hurtful choices. And also, let's get rid of the need to punish others. The need maybe to be right and to make them wrong. And another thing that I think is really important for us to release is the need to control others, to make them be a certain way so that they're okay for us. Because the truth is that they are masters evolving within their own divine timing. Whether they know it or not, we didn't know before we knew. So the key is to assist these individuals to be the best that they can be by us radiating out the most confidence, the most self-love, the most love of others, and an opportunity for them to be able to see what it is to be unconditionally loved, and as someone who is unconditionally loved and no longer allowing themselves to be abused or treated inappropriately, we show them that that is what loving ourselves is like, so that they can express that same self-love, that same ability to love others unconditionally. It kind of works hand in hand, doesn't it? If we all put down the tug-of-war with everyone we've got a tug-of-war with in this life, can you imagine how peaceful and harmonious our lives would be? It'd be amazing. Our stories would become the most amazing epics that everyone would want to emulate. Now, in developing our new stories, we obviously are not going to, after that big long speech, we're not going to choose to reinvest negatives from the past into our current reality. So let's dig deep. To find the source of punishment, the need to remind and shame and punish others, especially humorously. It's hard enough to be the recipient of punishment, but to have your shame made into a joke that people laugh at is deeply, deeply dishonoring. If you've been the joker or the recipient of the emotional blows, know that the new SVH tool that we're using is going to unearth the seeds and foundations of acceptance and allowing of this dishonor. Now, obviously, the SVH tools don't manipulate others, so if someone continues to display this behavior, you can know that it's coming from them. At this point, you can work to change the dynamic of your relationship with these individuals. You can become neutral about anything they say and do, or you can move from the relationship. See, you've got lots of choices. Now, I know that I'm belaboring this topic, but I just don't feel like we've hit it at all angles. I'm thinking about punishment and how long the collective consciousness supports hanging on to the old pains and hurts. And, I don't know, like the Hatfields and the McCoy story. They were two hillbilly families that were at war for generations, and in the end, nobody even knew why the first shot was fired. Well, that's kind of how it is in our life, too. Now, I know you don't believe in hanging on to old grudges and the old stories. That's like old paradigm stuff. But even if there is a little bit of that left, by the end of the seminar, when that new tool kicks in to dig that stuff out, we're going to be totally cleared of it. So in the interest of getting it all cleared, let's stimulate the brain sorting a bit more. I'll ask the questions. The brain will identify the seeds and foundations of your alliances with those imbalances, and the rest is history. And I really mean history. Ancient history. we're just going to drop it like old dirty rags on the side of the road. So, let's get back to probing a little bit more. So if someone says something mean-spirited to you, how long will it take for you to totally let it go and never think about it again whenever you see them or talk to them or think about that person? How about this one? If someone says something mean-spirited about you to someone else, how long will it take for you to totally let it go and never think about it again when you see them or talk to them or think about them or think about the person that they told? Now, in the current or old paradigm, did you tell others about the issue with this person and enlist their sympathy and support? Did this keep your focus on the issue? And the next question is really an important one. How long do you think that person needs to be punished for what they said? Now let's point the finger at you. What do you think is the worst thing you have ever done? You notice my wording? I realize that we live by different rules these days and that everything is an experience. But believe me, when I ask the question that way, your brain already defines your perceived indiscretion before you could even ponder it. Well, the brain not only pinpointed it, but there's a whole backstory on who it affected and how it affected them. My gosh, you could write a whole book on this topic. Then everyone would know. Oh my gosh, what if it did get out? I mean, really got out. What if it got printed in today's newspaper and everyone you know got a copy? And now about this question. What is the one thing you absolutely do not want your closest friends or your family to know? What if they did find out? Do you believe you need to be forgiven for your mistakes? Do you believe that you need to be punished? And if you do at some level, and we're not talking about the master part of self that knows that there's no judgment from Creator or need to punish, we're talking about planet Earth and humanity as a whole, and the part of you that is linked to collective consciousness that still might be supporting self-castigation. So if that's true, what is the right punishment for what you've done in your life? All these things that you've done. Oh my goodness, all those lessons that you've learned, all those experiences, every trip and fall, every little hiccup, every thought that you had about someone that was negative, everything that you ever did that was kind of mean-spirited, anything that you ever did that cost somebody extra money. I once burned a girl's car to the ground. I wonder if I should be punished. Nobody ever said anything hardly. They knew it was me. I finally admitted it. But the point is, the parents never said anything. They didn't tell my parents. I know they knew. Another thing that happened was that I took my shoe, my little loafer, and hit a bug on a window and splattered the whole windshield with goo, and it cracked the windshield. And my friend Anne, she went home and told her family that a duck or a bird hit the window. And, of course, they knew it wasn't true because the break was from the inside out. But the point is, gosh, that was kind of a negative thing, wasn't it? And I didn't step up and say, I take the blame, punish me. I wonder if I've been punishing myself all these years because of that. I don't know that anyone needs to get punished for anything. Things happen. Good golly, if somebody does something that's an accident, all of us say, oh, no, don't worry. But if we do something, we kind of carry it around, don't we? Well, I'm just describing all that, but for clearing purposes, I really wanted to say it. And I want to also bring you to an exercise that's going to assist us to really dig deep, to really just kind of grab down into the great resources of I'm a bad person and get it all drug up so that we can just vanquish all of that and release it. So right now I want you to imagine that you're standing on a stage in your hometown, confessing the worst things you've ever done. You know, for some of us that were raised Catholic, the worst thing we could possibly do was we'd go to confession and we'd confess sins that we didn't even commit, just because you really couldn't just show up and say, "Bless me, Father, for I have not sinned." If you didn't have a list of something, they figured there was something wrong with you or you were lying. So we used to make stuff up. But in this case, I want you to let your mind run through the whole list of things that you really believe were kind of bad things that you did or negative things. The reason I'm saying bad things and negative things is because I want to really go after what your brain and what your body language and what your cells are hanging on to. You ever notice how little children are like made of rubber? They can bend and twist, and when they fall, they bounce. Well, you know, we used to all be that way. But right now, our bodies are a little more tight, just describing. And I believe that after we've done this clearing, we're going to feel a little more rubber-like on this end. So, I'd like you now to take this clearing to an even deeper level. I want you to imagine all the people that are in your life right now. If you don't live in your hometown, I'd like you to imagine standing up at work or standing up in front of your peers or on a stage or just in front of all the people that care about you, that you love, and maybe even some people that would like to see you fall flat on your face. And imagine confessing the worst things that you've ever done to them. And let that kind of bubble in there a little. And now, I'd like you to imagine standing before God. Here you are in front of Creator God, who you know is benevolent, lovely, wonderful, snuggly honey bear that doesn't judge anyone. But you know, written into collective consciousness and written into your very genetic cells is the story about how God punishes, sends you to hell. I'm telling you, you could burn in the old days for eating meat on Friday. This is the kind of God that I think I would be afraid of in the old paradigm, and probably really, really was. And I'm excited about this clearing because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this new tool is going to just reach in to every part of my childhood where I sat there and just shivered in my boots because God was all-seeing and knew what I had just done. You know, I'd spilled my milk and mopped it up and poured new milk, and nobody saw it. No one was the wiser, but oh, God saw. That milk, that could be pretty serious. I mean, that might even be purgatory for me. I mean, I have no idea what the punishment is for hiding the fact that you spilled your milk, but it could be serious. And I'm not joking. It really does embed in your cells. It's there. Have you ever heard that your body remakes itself every 7 years? Your skin, your tissues, your fluid, all the cells, everything in your body remakes itself. So how come we still have the scars? How come people keep replicating cells with a broken heart or a pancreas that doesn't work correctly or any of these other things? Well, the reason why is because the same programs and beliefs and embedded fears and imprints of imbalance are all there, feeding and fueling and supporting that old paradigm. It's locked in. It's written into the code so that the new cells stamp out the new one. That's what we're doing today. Today, we are hunting up all these imprints that are still hanging on. They're linked somehow to something. And of course, we got the whole labyrinth of belief systems and barriers and blocks to deal with. But right now, what we're after is everything that says that we can't be what we came here to be. Now, I'm telling you that we're going to be building a new story, and we've got to build it on new ground that is just flat, it's level, it's beautiful new ground. Have you ever seen like a new housing development, how they flatten the ground and they pound it and they get everything squared away and they build the house And then they bring in all the people with the trees and the grass, and they make the most beautiful, beautiful yards. You see, the foundation was set. It was laid in. If you went into just an old field with rocks everywhere and old scraggly weeds and with deep roots that have big sticker weeds coming out, and you built a house on it, and you didn't even pound the foundation down, you just kind of put that thing together, and then you started throwing grass seed on top of it, what would you have? You could plant a few trees and some different things, but really, I mean, when you walk on the grass, it would be bumpy, there'd be gopher holes and all kinds of stuff. So the key really is in the preparation. And that's what we're doing right now. We're laying a foundation that will allow your new story to be laid upon a foundation that is, it's like the model home, you know? You drive down into the new subdivision and there's the model home. And everything is perfect. It's decorated perfectly inside. It's decorated beautifully on the outside. Everything in the yard, the trees, the fences, everything is perfect. Picture perfect. That's what we're doing today. Standing up on the stage in front of the whole town and in front of your peers, your family members, and confessing things that don't make any difference to anybody today is the perfect way to get rid of all that stuff. Now, you could sit and think about all that stuff, but really you don't have to, because your brain's already isolated what all that stuff is, those perceived belief systems about your worth and all these things that you've done that have been so very horrible. Well, now that you've stood on that stage in front of those peers, now I'd like you to imagine stepping up to the front, just stepping up even further, closer to the stage, and bowing to everyone and saying, "See the roles that I've played? I release them now." And then take a big bow. The SVH tool is going to isolate those undiscovered links to the punishment themes. But at the same time, let's go after the need to confess. Is there something within you that needs to confess everything? My mother had a pretty mink coat, and I swear she couldn't say thank you when someone told her it was nice. People would say, "I know, what a beautiful coat." And she would just quickly explain that, my son's wife had this coat, but she got a new one and didn't like this one anymore, so I got it. She couldn't say, "Wow, thank you. It is so warm and lovely." You know, the two words "thank you" would be a lot simpler than the big long story that she told. But she needed, at some level, to explain how she got such a coat. It was like she was ashamed of having it and needed to explain that she got it from some means other than spending the money to buy it. It's like a magical thing. It appeared. You know, she passed this trait on to me. Perhaps genetically as well, but also from witnessing her behavior whenever she had something that she had to confess and describe to somebody about, how she got something. So, everything must be explained. Everyone is owed an explanation. Well, I've worked on this topic on and off for years, and this clearing is one that's going to vanquish my inner belief that I owe explanations to anyone and that I need to justify and substantiate my choices. I'm really excited about viewing the screen today. And, of course, to have this fully gone is going to be a dream come true, because that has been in the way of me being able to claim the good things in my life. I wonder if we all have this, because I believe that in just speaking to you now, I can feel all the times that I've just kind of poo-pooed things instead of saying, "Wow, whew, that's the coolest thing." I mean, I worked diligently to get that. I worked 18 hours a day for like 5 years to get that. Wow, yes, thank you. Instead of, "Oh, no. You see, that is an auto response. Whenever you have an auto response like that and it puts you down or limits something, you know that something's there. I'd have to say that the clearing profiles in these teleseminars are some of the biggest I've ever prepared. I put them together. Sometimes it takes me a couple of weeks to just lay the foundations for them. And then, of course, the dialogue is channeled and it's automatically there flowing out of my mouth to stimulate embedded formatting and blocks so that they can be identified and tagged for clearing. Well, I'm the first in line to activate those clearings. While everybody else is looking at their screens, I'm mentally screaming, yes, 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 Creator. See, we're all on our journey. Every one of us is choosing the greatest levels of sovereignty and autonomy, clarity, focus, especially those of us that are working in these teleseminars, because this is all about retraining the mind, retraining everything about us, basically, to be in tune with the flows of creation energy that we are activating. And I could tell you that there's nothing within us that wants a link to old stuff. There's nothing in the clear mind, anyway. The clear mind, the focused mind, only wants to stay in the now, focusing on the eternal now, directing to create in the eternal now, and, of course, the future of eternal nows as they unfold. The key for each of us is to just stay in that flow and align ourselves always with the highest scenarios, the highest ideals, and to allow ourselves to not only select the story that works for us in the moment, but also to develop a bigger story, a story that unfolds as the saga of your life, the one that they're going to be writing books about and talking about. You see, anybody who's anybody on any timeline, world, or dimension knows what you're doing right now. You're one of the leaders on this world right now. You are choosing to radiate love and harmony and peace and to support the collective expansion. And in doing that, you are stepping into a new role. And that role is one that is being championed throughout all cosmoses, throughout all universes, and of course, by your own self from the future that is sending you so much support and love and harmony because you deserve it. It doesn't matter what you ever did in the past. It doesn't matter what your life was like when you were 3 or 2 or 1 or when you were 21 or 41. It doesn't matter what your age is, because you are ageless. You're perpetually regenerating. And you are mastery in motion. Part of that mastery is discovering exactly what it is that you would like. And sometimes we discover what we'd like by what we don't want. All those experiences and the perceptions and beliefs about them are a component of our story. Unfortunately, most of those components have created that things have happened to us rather than us choosing to create exactly what it is that we like. So let's talk about the things that happen to you rather than you making them happen. And while you're at it, let's build on your clearing profile so that in a little while we can start planting seeds of your new story in the past. What we're doing is digging up the fields. We're tilling them up and clearing out all the rocks and the weeds, preparing the fertile fields for the seeds of light, your dream story. So let's get digging. How many times in your life have you felt the weight of the world on your shoulders? It's like nothing is going your way. And if anything, every day is more complicated and more out of control than the next. If your life up till now has been idealistic, then we're not really talking about you, but what about your ancestors' files that you carry? What do those look like? We're talking about upheaval, upheaval, upheaval. Survival mode kicking in and life just out of control. Now a less intense approach. How's that? How many times in your life did you feel that you didn't have your hands on the reins? Like something unseen was driving your life. Like nothing was working the way that you wanted it to. And I'm not talking about a bad haircut here. I'm talking about not having a say in what is happening in your life. And the more you try to get a hold of the reins again, they seem further and further away. Almost as though the means to restore harmony is out of reach. What within you, in the deep genetics or realities that are anchored in your learned behaviors, stopped or blocked you from stopping everything just to reevaluate? What is the main reason for your disempowerment in those instances? And what blocked you from stepping forward to claim your right to choose? Now for an even milder approach. When things got out of hand in your life and the realities unfolding around you did not reflect the choices that you consciously defined, what within you allowed it, and what within the situation was beyond your control? How did it make you feel? And just ponder this for a moment. What stopped you from reclaiming your realm in each of those time frames? What's your life like? And what does this remind you of? Each of us was born on this world as a baby. And whatever the dynamic was in our home and family of origin, we were helpless. We had to depend on other people to make our world work. Actually, without them, we wouldn't have survived. They either fed us when we were hungry, or they didn't feed us when we were hungry. They either changed us when our diaper was wet or messy, or they left us sitting in it. They either nurtured us and loved us and taught us boundaries, or they did the best they could based on whatever their formatting was about, and we lived. Either way, there are laws and rules that we all live by on this planet, and one of them is that our guardians are supposed to be taking care of us. And if they don't or didn't, then what does that say? Does that say that we're worth something or that we're not? Did we feel empowered when we were 3 years old, 4 years old, 10, 12, 15? How did we feel in that time frame in our childhood? Did we feel safe? Was our body safe? Was it safe to ask questions? Was it safe to step forward and claim your realm, to basically say, no, I don't want to do that, or to lock the bathroom door? Or was it safe to be whoever you are? Was it safe to be the funny person or the quiet person? Did you need to be a certain way so that other people were okay with their life? That's a very important question also. The reason why is because if it wasn't safe to do those things, then how could we feel empowered to be able to step forward in our adult life and make decisions that are based on focus, clarity, claiming your realm, choosing that you will or will no do something, or that someone has the power or does no have the power to be able to influence your life? See, if we grew up in an environment where it was no safe to be who we are, then how can we truly step forward as adults and claim our realm? To be able to step forward and say, no, or no more shall I allow, or to stop and reevaluate, or to say, I'm holding the reins now, or to be able to figure out what is out of control and what is manageable, and to be able to negotiate. You see, when you have been raised that you can't even ask why, then how can you truly negotiate? If no means no, because I said so, then there's no room for a gray area. Those of us that have no gray area, that were raised that it was either black or white, yes or no, you are going to love this clearing. And those of us with a gray area, you're going to love this clearing because it's going to take you to this exquisite new level of sovereignty. And it's going to just like erase or paint over or elevate the vibration of all of these different areas of your childhood and adolescence and adulthood as well, where we felt disempowered. The Creator can do anything. And today, you're going to basically hand this over to your higher consciousness and your soul and the Creator to be able to uplift these whole areas of your life in preparation for the foundation of what we're going to be building in the next 2 hours. So let's work with the constructive mind now. Those of you that have been part of the last seminar meant to be are mastering your alliance with a constructive mind. And we'll use your exclusive trigger processes in the next exercise. But whether you have those tools or not, we're about to make some magic happen. Oh yeah. We're going to get millions of ideal scenarios from the constructive mind and the master intellect. And then we're going to use them to lay a fabulous new seedbed of harmony in place to support your ideal new story. So, in addition to the bazillions of clearing profiles that we have in place, these scenarios are going to be positioned in each of the spots where imbalance occurred, or the seeds and foundations that fueled imbalance were activated, or any number of other perfect placements selected by the Creator. These scenarios are going to act like maps. Everywhere that they're placed, they're going to be reflecting the ideal reality that can be formed to uplift that part of the life story and all the pathways leading to the fulfillment of that chapter and verse. We're going to go to the future, and there we'll retrieve the seeds of tomorrow. And then I'm going to guide you through the steps to claiming those scenarios, and then we'll view the screen and activate the clearing and restructuring that is going to seed the current reality foundations in your past. That's going to make it so easy for us to create the new story. So right now, what I'd like you to do is to close your eyes. Just relax. You're going to see a door opening before you. Serenity practitioners, go ahead and enter the DC. You'll see a door opening before you. It's leading to your future in time, to your ascension moment. Go ahead and step through the doorway right now. That door will open up for you, and Archangel Michael is right beside you. As you step through, see, sense, feel, or imagine yourself standing in this exquisite space of energy. You can feel it sizzling. It's just energy that is so delicious. You can see yourself there. Yourself in your ascension moment. Let's take a moment to just support and send energy to yourself in this sacred moment of your journey. You're about to step into the next phase of your perfection. And the loophole allows you now to telepathically ask yourself for an entire seedbed. What you're choosing to ask for is a foundation to support your new story. We'll be able to utilize this to support the deepest clearing possible. Your future self reaches over and places an orb on your hand. Go ahead and bow your head in honor of your sacred journey, the next phases that will be played out in your future of time. Go ahead and step one step backwards, and you'll be back into our now. There's a big screen that's laid before you. It's the one that we have all the clearing loaded onto. Just send that orb into the screen, and automatically your higher consciousness and soul will begin to position all those seeds in all these different placements throughout your life. And as you feel and watch and sense that your higher consciousness and soul are positioning these in perfection, let yourself feed the energy of your mind, your consciousness, into that sacred space of the constructive mind. And as you allow yourself to feel the energy there, think knowing. And as you do, let yourself really move into the constructive mind's alliance with the master intellect, and feel yourself connecting to the big story, the whole story of your entire life. Go ahead and mentally choose that all of the ideal scenarios that support the most balanced, harmonious, loving, and self-loving, and functional childhood, adolescence, and adulthood will be brought forth now. All of the millions of scenarios that could be utilized to position in all those little placements throughout the life to support not only clearing, but also to support as a foundational map for you in the next phases of your journey. Lock into with your mind all of these scenarios and think, I am that. And then take a breath and imagine that screen floating before you, knowing that on that screen is written into the encodements of the comprehensive clearing, the most amazing deep clearing profile, as well as the foundational seeds that were gifted to you by your future ascending self, that will be utilized to sweep through life looking for anything in opposition to you being able to maintain a foundation of honor and integrity and harmony, which will support your eternal now as you are creating in the next segment the glorious new story of you, your life. Of course, also on that screen is the new tool, the new SVH tool that's going to take your deep embedded formatting and it's going to root out all these identified barriers and blocks to harmony. Silently ask if it is in divine alignment to have the Creator implement all of this clearing and to lay these foundational seedbeds for you. And when you have your answer, think yes. And in the next segment, we will begin a new journey, a journey of building your new story. You just implemented a massive clearing profile that encompasses the full range of reformatting, interventions, and the deep clearing profile implemented by the new SVH Emancipation Tool. Let's claim those scenarios now. And even though there may be thousands of them, each has been selected by your higher consciousness and future perfected self as the ideal seedbed to instill those thousands and even millions of time slices that are associated with the deep clearing profiles that we just implemented. Millions and millions of embedded formats that have been limiting you, stopping and blocking you from claiming your divine right to choose and manifest the exact reality you desire were just reformatted. A few minutes ago, and again any time that you or any other registered seminar participant view that screen after listening to that clearing profile, you receive another magnanimous shift and new seeds of sovereignty and mastery instill. That's the beauty of having unlimited access to this recording. Imagine for a minute the deep clearing profiles, reformatting layer upon layer of old barriers and blocks that have been holding the old story firmly in place. Each time the clearing sweeps through, laying a new layer of fresh white paint, or in this case, a new seedbed of foundations to support your reality, your life is going to shift. Your vibration is going to elevate. You're going to raise your limits. You're going to raise the bar on mastery. Mastery in motion. That's what we're perfecting. So we're about to start something else. So anyone that hasn't done the first and the second New Life seminars yet, I'm going to be implementing the final stages of this exercise for you. So your clearings and activations and everything are going to be just as powerful and wonderfully supporting, even though you haven't mastered those steps yet. So no worries. That's what I'm here for. Let's begin. Close your eyes and let your inner awareness link into those many scenarios that were activated for you in all those many timelines of your life when we were implementing that big clearing just a few minutes ago. Let your mind kind of drift, releasing attachment to the world around you. It's like your whole life is displayed on a giant wall in millions of movie screens. Let your reasoning mind see those screens or imagine them. You've ever seen those walls of TV screens that are in movies and sometimes in furniture stores? Imagine that times 1,000,000. And just let your reasoning mind link into each of them. It's going to happen with or without your mind micromanaging this. So just let yourself link in and feel as though you're one with them. Now imagine that your crown chakra is opening wider and wider and wider to accept a huge infusion of divine light that's going to flow in a moment. That flow of divine light from the Creator is going to super activate your Kundalini. So feel your crown right now opening wide like a big funnel. Just imagine that it's expanded wide beyond your shoulders. And feel right now the Creator's luminescent essence pouring down from the heavens, pouring down into your big funnel of a crown chakra, instilling, just pouring in. It automatically flows right to the Kundalini and super activates. You can feel the divine light flowing from your crown, activating and igniting this pulsing mechanism. Like a sun bursting from all of your chakras and cells, feel that energy burst out. And like threads of divine light, streams of that light is flowing from you to each of the screens. So all those screens before you, whether you're imagining them or seeing them, are all just being instilled by these threads of light that are just pouring through you that initially started from your crown, pouring in from the divine light of the Creator, activating in the Kundalini, streaming out. And on them are carried these reflections of ideal imprints of divine light. And each of those imprints are going right to the source of those placements where you had clearing previously. Feel the flows of creation energy igniting in each of those times in your life. And as it does, mentally claim it. Think, yes, yes, I choose the ideals that the Creator has instilled, every one of them. Yes, I choose those pathways of perfection. I choose the ideal scenarios for each of these instances. Continue to fuel. Continue to fuel and pour those ideal divine outcomes and scenarios through those threads of light, reflecting into every one of those time spaces, the time frames of your life where the clearings were. Continue to fuel the ideal outcomes, allowing those streams of divine light to pour through into each of those spaces. Those of you that have completed Seminar 2, Meant to Be, hold that big vision of the life in your mind and think the trigger knowing. Feel your reasoning mind wafting into a link with your constructive mind in each of those time frames, reflected in those screens. Now follow my words. I choose the ideal scenario for each of these instances. Feel your mind lock into the scenario in each screen. It happens on its own. You don't have to do it. And now activate the SVH trigger process by thinking, I am that. Feel the creation energy flow. Just lock onto those screens in each time frame and feel yourself floating in the energy that is fueling those lovely ideal scenarios in the present and in the past. How delicious. Just feel the seeds that we planted in the past being rained upon with divine light and creation energy and fabulous imprints of positive new realities to feed and fuel your new story. And now, in this state of delightful radiance and hopefulness and uplifting possibilities, I want you to feel yourself in every one of those places of your life that are depicted in the screens. Kind of like tapping into your old and new stories that are just taking bud, like a garden of roses that are about to bloom. Hold your alliance with the metamorphosis as the Creator's radiance continues to flow into your crown chakra for the next 11 minutes, while we prepare for the next phase of this transformation. Go ahead and continue to allow the energy to flow, feeling the light and the radiance of our blessed Creator, instilling and fueling that and each of the new steps that we're about to embrace. Some of the instances that are rewriting to reflect a new reality are doing so with a glorious, freeing sweep that moves aside all that would harbor old energies and emotional attachments and emotional charge. SVH and all the master principles that we're aligned with in this series are non-manipulative. That means that we're not making other people do something in order for our reality to shift to a higher ideal. We aren't bending other people's will and making them jump to our tune or march to our drummer. But we are working to change our dynamic with others if it's in conflict with your desires or honor or sovereignty and the highest principles of divine truth. I guess the best way to say this is that we are honoring ourselves and others while we make higher choices. The best way to do that is to become really, really neutral. That way, if someone is dishonoring us or limiting our progression through words and tones and body language and experiences that we are drawn into with them, we stop allowing ourselves to be drawn in, to be triggered or affected by the experience or the experiences. Sometimes that isn't easy because if we were children at the time and the events were occurring around us out of our field of influence, meaning others had the power to create our arena, it was hard for us to be able to step forward. I don't know about you, but it was kind of discouraged in our family of origin to say no if our parents said that we were to do something, even if that something was very dishonoring. As a matter of fact, most of us were raised in kind of an interesting relationship with our parents. There was a lot of fear, there was a lot of shame being dispensed, and corporal punishment. What does that do to the psyche of a child? To know that if they ask a question about something, that they could be slapped, or they could have their mouth washed out with soap, or they could actually be beaten with a belt or with switches or sticks or other things, simply for asking a question, why? You see, the world right now is a different place for most of us. And we, of course, would never raise our children now in the state of consciousness that we live within in any way except with love and honor. So if there is any kind of beliefs within you that perhaps you would like to clean up or clear up, that has to do with how you raised your children or how you've been raising your children, that's something that we can take care of in a great big clearing right now. Because if we sweep back through the life, looking for anything that's anchoring and supporting a belief that is holding us hostage in the past for experiences that we perpetuated or were a part of, that linked to old paradigms where we were taught how to respond or behave based on parent and child roles, wife, husband roles, sisters, brothers, teachers, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, however the roles were played out. If we sweep through the life looking for anything and everything that's anchoring and supporting a definition for us, something that says, I am bad because I did this. I am bad because I said this. We want to roll back to each of those timelines and have a clearing initiate each time we ever thought about those experiences and drew our minds back to them so that we can clear away whatever is anchoring and supporting blocks to us living in the moment. So let's take this opportunity now. I just need you to think in your mind, I choose now to release all of the words, the tones, and the body language that I projected out to others that limited them from their sovereignty, their autonomy, and their ability to set firm, friendly boundaries and to love themselves and to be able to step forward into their master role. If there's anything that you've ever said, done, through your words, your tones, your body language, you have the Creator go back, just sweeping through the life, looking at each and every one of those moments, in every one of those time frames, and tagging them. You own your words, tones, and body language. So that means that you can call back your words. It's an interesting concept, but the truth is that time is an illusion, and the Creator can do anything. So what we're going to have the Creator do is roll back to each of those time frames and put new words, tones, and body language in place. That way, every single individual who was influenced adversely by your input will now have an opportunity to choose this new reality. The reason I put it that way is because most everyone will just imprint the new story on their own. It'll just happen. But if they were extremely traumatized, there is a potential that these individuals will still hang on to those old dramas and traumas. But it's worth this effort, especially so for you. Because as we're sweeping through, we're also implementing clearing profiles in the past, an hour before the outbursts ever occurred, and clear through leading up. So it's a possibility that things will shift just by clearing away what was anchoring and supporting the frustration to begin with. But either way, we want to sweep forward so that no matter what occurred in the past, you're not carrying it forward. So we're looking for any time in your life that you drew that thought back of the events and judged yourself, or you allowed yourself to be judged by others. In addition to this clearing, I want to talk to you about the pain body right now, because this plays into the roles of what I'm referring to. If someone is verbally, physically, or mentally abused as a child, We can do a great deal in SVH to mop up the energy around the events. And in some cases, we can even successfully intervene, and past occurrences will reform to reflect wholly different outcomes. Sometimes not. In any event, the body acts like a sponge, soaking up all kinds of experience energy. Now, what is experience energy? Well, it's a simple little name I'm using for a big problem. It's the energy that the body soaks up from experiences that occurred along the way, and depending on how much drama and trauma are attached to the experiences and the levels of understanding of the individual's association with the events, the saturation level is either less or more in the sponge theory. For example, if a child is raised by inattentive parents or parents that are emotionally unavailable, they can soak up as much or more experience energy than a child that's in a volatile home environment. The reason why is because the volatile environment is fraught with a lot of survival mode energy, and the life of an emotionally abandoned child is laden with rejection and a belief that they're wrong, unlovable, and unloved. Childhood is where the pain body lays its deepest roots. The pain body is fueled by blocked energy pathways within the physical and energy bodies. Emotional trauma and physical traumas create a distortion field in the energy body. When the mind hyperfocuses on events of trauma and the ego gains control of conscious thought processing, an amplification of the pain distorts one's sense of proportion or scale of the event, whereby imprinting distorted energy arrays in the body's fields that can trigger later. Have you ever seen varicose veins? That's what the energy arrays look like. They look like big lightning bursts. So if you did a simulation cross-sectioning the body of someone with an active pain body, the energy array looks like lightning bursts moving through thin energy fields within and around the physical body. Imagine a tiny little baby laying in its mother's arms being fed, feeling that it must be loved. It actually feels loved by its mother. And then imagine it grows and it learns how to walk, and everybody looks at it like it's the most wonderful little child that ever was. And as they watch this child grow, they see themselves trying to protect it. And they say, no, 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 bad girl, bad boy. And you can feel the actual pain that is felt by the child. These children that are born to this world now are even more sensitive. You can imagine how more and more of their little psyches are being damaged by the old ways of raising children. The old ways are aligned with fear. They're mostly supported by a parent's fear that their child will be hurt, and also a fear that they will wrong their child by not being firm enough. Have you ever heard the saying, spare the rod and spoil the child? Imagine how a beating with a stick or a belt or being slapped or screamed at has actually affected the pain bodies of humanity. You can clear and clear and clear issues, and they will reformat. And along with that rescripting, a ton of that experience energy does shift off, but some of it still seems to linger. Today we're going to address this issue another way. Today, we're going to move into the old files, and we're going to use the screens that you're instilling to do it. We have a new tool that we're going to apply. To do that, I want you to pretend that your physical and energy bodies are made up of sponge. That's right, a sponge. We're going to use a very interesting approach that will work along with quantum level reprogramming and a holographic wick. Let me tell you how it's going to work. As we move your consciousness through the days and the weeks and years of your life, a special new tool is going to activate to wick away the experience energy that previously activated and fueled your pain body. Because those emotional traumas and physical traumas created a distortion field in the energy body, in the old paradigm, we're going to link into the interventions that are taking place in the screens that you're focusing on right now. We're going to split the events into two realities, intervenable and unintervenable. Some events can be intervened and new realities take the place of the old trauma. In those instances, we'll still use the new tool to ensure that the pain body is not activated later. We're going to utilize this new tool to its greatest potential, but some of those areas of your life were unintervenable, mainly because we're not manipulators. And if someone is absolutely no affected by all the levels of divine influence that we've been slinging their way, angels singing in the auroric field and radiance of light pouring upon them, and you changing your genes and genetic predispositions that allowed the traumas and all of that, and still they would be unaffected? Well, okay, that's the way it is. But we still hold on to the ideal. We still hold on to the vision of the way that we would choose to be treated. Just holding that vision and no giving energy to the old paradigm helps to support these individuals to shift and change. Holding on to the old story has zero value. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to those old stories. And we're going to go to whenever the mind tried to hyper-focus on some unresolved or resolved events of trauma. When we're going to employ quantum level reprogramming to stop the ego from gaining control of conscious thought processing in each of those time spaces. Now this will stop the amplification of the event and eliminate the formation of the distortion fields and the energy arrays. You see, it's an intervention. Now here's the specks on the sponge. Your whole body is going to take on the structure of a sponge with an energy field fully encasing it. The energy field works two ways. It infuses divine light into the body and wicks off any fragmented energy that is in any way associated with emotional and physical trauma. We're going to activate this sponge body to move through your life, from womb to the present. And when we reach our eternal now moment, we're going to take all the archived fragmentation and move it through a field of divine light that's going to transform it into reconstituted creation energy to fuel your new story. Now that's my kind of recycling. So here we go. Close your eyes and reconnect with that huge wall of screens. And notice that there's a whole new section of screens off to the left. These new screens represent the time frames of your gestation stage in the womb. Each of those screens has a clearing profile reflected within it. All you need to do right now is silently ask the Creator if it is in divine alignment for the Creator to implement this massive clearing and the intervention profile. And when you get an answer yes, think yes. Ah, yes. And now feel the life that you lived, this whole time span of your life, being saturated with love. Feel the masters and angels of light and the Creator just pouring divine light onto you. And let yourself soak it up like a sponge. Looking at the timeline of your life, from the time that you were in your mother's womb, clear through till the now moment. Feel this exquisite energy just pouring through every facet of you. Feel the radiance of it, and as it builds to be a brighter and brighter light, let your energy, your mind, your thoughts, your consciousness, touch upon different times in your life where there was trauma or hardship or imbalance. And just let the energy associated with that physical and emotional trauma wick off into the energy field as the clearing profiles and the angelic and divine interventions continue to assure that your energy fields remain unaffected. Feel that exquisite divine light. Enjoy that unconditional love just soaking into every part of your sponge. Your body is drinking it in. No matter what emotional or physical harm or damage is inflicted in any of those time frames, that it's unintervenable. You remain intact, saturated in love, knowing that you are love, knowing that you're enough, and also knowing that you are never defined by the actions of others. You're more than enough. You are more. You are mastery in motion. You are the seeds of hope for planet Earth. You and your soul and the Creator, all working in concert to move you through to the moments of your greatest victory. Your victory over the physical. The victory over all that has laid foundations of imbalance for you to circumvent. You didn't come here to learn anything. You came here to experience and to make a difference. To make a difference on this world and to be able to assist in the Creator's plan for this time. You're important. You're more than important. You play a key role. Cast the old pain aside, allowing all of your bodies to revel in the installations of divine light and love. Feel yourself surrounded by angels and the masters of light that watch over you, have always watched over you, and feel them celebrate your emancipation from this old scourge. Let yourself view the entire span of your life and let your conscious mind just drift through as you were doing earlier and touch upon specific areas of your life where more and more love can be instilled to assure that every single area of your life is brought to the greatest levels of saturation. Feel yourself in every screen and feel the masters and the Creator and the angels love just pouring onto you, saturating your sponge even more, instilling and filling you beyond full in every single time frame of your life. It feels wonderful to be instilled with so much love. It feels wonderful to be instilled with love instead of with pain. This is the time when you have the opportunity to heal areas of yourself that you brought into this life from your biological mother and father and their parents and likely thousands of your ancestors. The makeup of their pain body was conferred to you. So we're going to roll back to your conception to deactivate the elements of conveyance. To do that, draw your attention back to the bank of screens again. A brand new screen is shining brightly like a star. In it is the semen and the egg that are igniting to form the foundation of your physical body. It's a glorious moment. It is your very own conception moment. When light sparks, when you become an eternal sentient being, when the vessel is being created to set the stage for the entry of your soul. All attention is on this one screen. The masters of light and angels gather around it and around you in your now moment. Feel their love pooling you now. And also, notice and feel that divine light pouring upon you in your conception moment. All these masters that have walked with you throughout this life and guardianed you, they are in this moment of your conception, not only celebrating this glorious moment, but also laying a foundation for that support that they'll be giving you in the future. Feel the wonder of this moment and feel how special these masters feel to be chosen by you and also chosen by the Creator to watch over you and also to assist you, leading you up to the moments of each phase of your master expansion. Ah, yes, these masters and angels of light, they are here for you. They know who you are. They knew who you were going to become. And as they help to plant the seeds that awakened you, and as they spoke to you and whispered to you of your greatness and assisted you along the paths, all of it began right here in this moment of your conception. They raised their hands in praise, and they begin to instill sacred elements of master expansion into the egg, into the semen, and into the spectrum of light that radiates from the fields of the egg. Feel the energy of love. This is an exquisite moment, but it's about to get better. The angels and the seraphim begin to sing, alighting the whole region where this space of the fulfillment of your conception is occurring. The divine light pouring through your crown chakra bursts from the palms of your hands. Look upon the wonder of them. Imagine or see the radiance. It's like a beacon in each of the palms of your hands. Turn them and instill the conception screen. Allow the energy to flow in such great profusion, instilling and magnifying the radiance of that exquisite golden sun of light that is being created by the angel's song and by the Creator's installations and by your own hand in this freeing, this emancipating, transformational action that you are participating in right now. Feel the energy of this light deactivating your ancestors' pain body encodements within that little egg that is soon to become your physical body. Imagine the freedom. Imagine what this is going to mean to your life. Imagine what it will mean to the world. Whatever you do to assist yourself reflects onto the world and assists collective consciousness to release their pain body. Gaia herself has a pain body. Imagine the planet Earth and all of its people free of its pain body. In this eternal now moment, take a breath. And as you exhale, feel the sentience in your own body. Relax. The sentience within your body is free. It is free of its pain body, just as you are free of your pain body. Let yourself revel in it now. I'd like you to feel the top of your head. Just feel your head. And as you do, just like instilling from the crown with the divine light, let your energy and your attention move to your eyes and to your ears and to your nose and to your lips and your cranium and your neck. Feel your neck, your whole neck, and your jaw. Open your mouth and just close it. Move your mouth from side to side and allow your energy to just begin to work within this body that is now free of the pain body. As you work down the energy from the crown all the way through to your neck, now feel your shoulders. Let yourself feel your shoulders and feel the relaxation in them. Let yourself feel all the way down your arms. Feel the left arm first. Pick it up and move it a little bit. Feel it and kind of move it up like you're flexing your muscles. And feel that left arm. And now feel your right arm. Raise it up and bring it up into that muscle posture. And flex your bicep. Just relax it now. What about your trunk? Feel the trunk of your body. Feel your breasts and your sides and your back and your front. And let yourself feel your abdomen and your hips and your back. If you're standing, bend over and feel your knees. Just reach down and feel your knees. Feel your legs and stretch your ankles. Just move your feet in a circular motion. First the right and then the left, or both at the same time. Or start with the left and move to the right. It's all perfect. And now that you've felt your legs and your hips and your feet and your arms and your trunk and your neck and your head, allow yourself to feel the golden energy of light that is pulsing through you. And as it pulses, allow yourself to feel how it's just shifting out all energy that is no in alignment with this new vision of the ideal body that is free of a pain body. Know that your pain body and all that was associated with it in the old paradigm is gone. So if your shoulders were tight and it had something to do with the pain body, expect for the neck and shoulders to be more limber. Expect that your whole body becomes more limber. If there's some pain or imbalance or dysfunction within your body that does no shift from this wonderful emancipation profile you've just completed, then that means it was no linked to the pain body. It's something else. In that case, there's always an opportunity for more clearing. There's always an opportunity to release more of the deeply embedded formatting that is anchoring and supporting imbalance within the wholeness of you. But expect, absolutely expect miracles. Expect yourself to celebrate that the pain body is gone and allow it to be gone. It's no possible for you to recreate your pain body. What we have done is release the attachment and alliance with the ancient seeds and implanted pain body profiles from your ancestors. Now let's turn your attention back to all of the screens, because this is the time to assure that you don't take on the pain body of others that are alive in your life, that you've experienced your life with leading up until now. The foundations of the pain body have been cleared. So it would be very difficult, really, for you to develop a pain body. But sometimes we carry the pain of others, just describing. The situation, though, is that it's not your job to carry the pain of others. No matter how much we love them or how much we want to help others. As a master evolving on a world that's been a dual plane of existence for millions of years, it's important for us to honor the roles of others and to honor their choices. In the end game, we're all going to review. And in this life, it's important for us to finish strong and to assist others to do the same if they choose. So carrying the pain body or the pain for others doesn't help them. In fact, it creates more pain for them. When you take on their pain and the elements creating the pain that they have, it amplifies the pain for them again and again until they're literally drowning in it. You see, in addition to their original pain, they're in pain from causing you pain. And carrying someone else's pain creates even more pain within you because your act of carrying and taking on their pain causes them more pain, which then causes you more pain, which then causes them more pain. So it's a vicious cycle. So it's time to heal everyone that took on our pain and everyone whose pain we took, and help lay a foundation of sovereignty for the whole life. Let's draw your attention back to the vast wall of screens and bring your attention directly to that section of the 9-month gestation period when you were in the mother's womb. In that time frame, see from the very first day of your conception, rippling forward, kind of like dominoes, just falling over, tipping over, igniting the next and the next and the next day. Clear forward 9 months, lighting up an energy field where you're instilled with divine light. So as it tips forward all the way through the 9 months, see each of those screens instilled with divine light, just like the divine light that's been flowing through in your crown chakra. And in each of those screens, imagine or see or pretend to see that your physical body, as it grows in the womb, begins to radiate that divine light brighter and brighter and brighter. As you see every single day of that 9 months, each of those screens becomes like a beacon, illuminating the full arena of every stage of those days. And of course, as each one of those screens reaches its brightest point, be one-minded in every one of those phases of that 9 months. Think the trigger process knowing, and feel the interminable link with your constructive mind. It all happens so quickly. Go ahead and think these words. I choose for the ideal scenario for sovereignty of myself during this gestation be manifested in each of these screens. Of course, the Creator and your soul and your master intellect know the bigger theme of your life during that time frame. So just let it go and let it be so. And feel your alliance with the ideal in each of those screens of every day of the 9 months where you're in the gestation period, and think the trigger process, I am that. Now revel in the flow of the energy fueling this divine sovereign scenario in every one of those phases of the 9 month. And know the ultimate freedom it offers you as well. Those ideal scenarios are free of all attachment or attraction to taking on the pain body of others. You see, we defined this as the ideal scenario for sovereignty. Sovereignty and the highest principles of divine truth do no attract, accept, or allow the pain of others to instill. So now bask in the radiance for a moment, because now we're going to move to your birth moment. The screen lights up. These screens that are depicting the time that you're in the womb, they are like a sun radiating. And now look at the day of your birth. That screen is lighting up now. It's lighting up from the radiance that is flowing from your gestation. See, sense, and know the little body of the newborn you as it is now being radiated with divine light, instilled within your crown chakra with the Creator's love. And feel the angels and the masters standing around you, instilling you with divine light as well. Like before, like a set of dominoes just falling forward, tipping one to the next, to the next, to the next. Let's watch the next 19 years of your life. Every day of each one of those years, all reflected in screens as they light up and ignite with divine light, as the Creator's radiance instills through your crown chakra, filling and instilling you, radiating from the gestation period forward into the first 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, forward, continuing 5, 6, 7 years, all those screens, each one reflecting a day, your divine light stream that flows from the heavens, from the Creator's divine light, is lighting you up like a beacon. Watch as each of those screens, leading up to your 19th year, and clear through almost to age 20, opening up the crown chakra and receiving those divine light installations. Allow yourself to feel that radiance as you did before. And feel those screens become brighter and brighter and brighter as your whole body and those screens become beacons as before, illuminating the full arena of the stage of the first 19 years of your life here on planet Earth as a master evolving awakening, planning your purpose for this life with the Creator in your soul. Feel how you are different. Feel how you're lighter. Feel how free it is to be you. And as your 19 years reach their brightest moment, once again be one-minded in every one of those phases of your life, every single one, every screen, individually, think the trigger process knowing. It happens automatically. Even though you might think you're only doing it in one screen, all of the days, 365 days a year for all 19 years. You have instilled divine light and the process knowing is activated. Think these words again. I choose for the ideal scenario for sovereignty, an alliance with the highest principles of divine truth, and freedom from the pain body. I choose emancipation from all levels of suppression profiles that have the potential to limit me or block me from my master mission, my choices in this lifetime that are aligned with the purpose of my soul and aligned with my ultimate journey of enlightenment. As you lock into that scenario in each one of those screens, think the trigger process, I am that. And then take a breath and feel the freedom of life, the freedom of light, and know that your life is being rewritten. Know that the seeds of your new story are being planted and instilled just from the reality of you being free of the subjugation of pain that's carried forth into your body from others. And as you revel in this newfound freedom, go ahead again now and see how the light is choosing to send itself forward. That light it stills in the very next screen and begins again to instill in through your crown chakra in each day of your life. Leading up to this eternal now moment, watch as the full spectrum of your life, the whole timeline of your life, all those screens leading up until now are being lit up as each one is ignited with divine light. There's the crown chakra of each screen with you in it, in whatever phase of your life in that day, when it is in the highest alignment for that installation, for the igniting of that divine light within you. Watch as it instills and ripples forward, just like the dominoes, lighting one after another, after another, after another day. Watch as each day is lit up until right now, when it reaches your moment of now. And feel yourself now, in this moment, instilling this beautiful light throughout your whole body, moving it through as the Creator's light moves through your crown. And let yourself feel the whole life now. Feel your life from age 20 all the way through to now, igniting, becoming a beacon as before, illuminating the full arena of every stage of the life leading up until now. And as it reaches its brightest point again, once again be one-minded in each one of those phases of your life, every single day, 365 days of each year, counting up to your now. In each of the screens, think the trigger process knowing and feel the interminable link with your constructive mind. Go ahead and think these words now. You don't have to repeat them. You just think them along with me. I choose for the ideal scenario for sovereignty, autonomy, freedom, harmony, master awareness, supreme enlightenment, freedom from suppression profiles, and the igniting of all of my innate gifts and blessings. I choose to be free of my pain body forever, and free of taking on the pain of others. I choose scenarios that support my alliance with the highest principles of divine truth, divine timing, honor, integrity, abundance, and my alliance with the Master Walk. Now feel your alliance in each of those screens and think the trigger process, I am that. And now once again revel in the flow of the energy fueling this divine sovereign scenario. And in every phase of your life and now, know the ultimate freedom that it offers you. And now before you release attachment to the screens, allow yourself to feel the wonder of this glorious gift. Let yourself take in the full expanse of your life right now. Imagine, see, or pretend to see the full expanse of your life beginning at your conception. See that brilliant light bursting forth like a sun, and see all that are there witnessing it. The masters, angels, and guides honor you. They themselves are honored to be of service. And now see the gestation period. See how bright and delicious and lovely the energy is. See how exquisite it is for you to be free. And now move forward for the first 19 years of your life. Witness your birth. See your birth, feel it, sense it, know it. And see yourself instilling with divine light from the Creator throughout that time frame. And move forward. Move forward beyond the 19 years. Moving forward right up until now. Right up until your eternal now moment. And know the wonder and the grace and the glory of your journey. Feel how different you feel. Feel how special it is to be you. Embrace the importance of your role on this world. And embrace the freedom that you have from the pain body and your alliances with carrying the pain of others. I invite you to pause this program now and allow yourself to revel in this new you. The new you that is physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually more. Embracing these new truths will assist you in the journey ahead. When you're ready, go ahead and resume the program. You are almost ready to create your new story. For the last 2 hours, we've been preparing for what will unfold in the next 60 minutes. Layer by layer, new depths of clearing have been completed through your use of the divinely inspired tools that have been developed expressly for the New Life seminars. These foundational landmark clearings fuel your progression and support your master journey to the new life that you're choosing, the life of a self-realized master. We have one more major step to complete before you change your story. I know that you can see the importance of the foundational work that we've been implementing over the past 2 hours. Why plant a crop on a rocky field? We've been clearing out the field and tilling it and planting seeds in the past. That way, when we create our new story, it can be harvested right away. So let's look at your fields that you've been tilling and preparing. And when I make that request for you to look at them, your brain activates to do most of that looking and providing of answers and identifying. But you get to play the most important role of all. You're going to play the role of a master incarnate that is one-mindedly focused on reaching supreme levels of enlightenment. In that quest, you will be identifying the hidden, as well as unearthing it from inaccessible regions of self, and lighting up the pathways of transformation in order to vanquish an unseen saboteur. We're going to have to be very clever to achieve this goal, but you will win. Archangel Michael and a host of angels are going to assist you all the way, and even though it may look as though you are struggling, nothing could be further from the truth. In the illusion we're about to create, you're going to have an opportunity to play a very interesting role. We're going to be very creative. And like an actor in a play, you're about to step into a very elaborate fairy tale that we designed specifically to release barriers and blocks to mastery that are still persistently anchored in your foundational formatting. There's a logical reason for this formatting to be so resistant. In addition to an inner saboteur that feeds and fuels these suppression profiles, there is a part of you that thinks letting go of old stuff is hard and needs to be hard. In fact, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but the method we're about to use could be the only way to get rid of these barriers and blocks. Because many of these limitations are firmly planted into your primordial genetics. A resistant part of you that is linked to an old belief system held in collective consciousness supports that these old blocks are locked in firmly into your reality. And to rid yourself of them, something really arduous needs to be done to dig them out or release them. That belief system is linked to your current reality. But in this hour, your life is going to change forever. Did you know that there's a part of you that believes that you're evil? It's an old component of third dimension reality, and it really isn't true. But that part of you that thinks it's evil won't let some of the SVH reformatting tools work 100% efficiently. And in fact, it blocks all modalities from fully releasing the energy that holds you from the levels of awareness that you so long to attain. Throughout the ages, beings that desired to achieve supreme enlightenment put themselves through great hardship and deprivation in order to attain those levels of awareness. With the use of SVH, these levels of sacrifice and privation are unnecessary and even discouraged. With tools like SVH, one can reach any level of enlightenment that they choose. Today we're going to prove that. There's no need to suffer to claim one's birthright. In this time of great promise, the paths to awareness are paved in gold light and laden with roses if we choose for it to be. Throughout the ages, many brought themselves right to the brink of death in order to free themselves from the bondage of an inner destroyer. Now, this truth slayer knows how to hold on to lies that weigh down the threads of hope. It wants what it wants, and it does all that it can to keep you from the promised land of inner harmony that fully quiets the distracted voice of ego. For thousands of years, that inner destroyer has lorded over specific formatting that is selected from an individual's genetic lineage. This mechanism became a part of humanity's progression about 100,000 years ago. And though it really is a suppression profile that plays an adversarial role, it's considered a component of the lesser energy associated with the dual plane of light and shadow. The inner destroyer within anyone, despite its destructive-sounding name, doesn't really do anything to actively stop or block you from evolving. But it does purposefully circumvent the identification and activation of innate gifts. In addition to limiting one's personal expansion, the inner saboteur sequesters significant imprints of genetic formatting that reflect less than savory elements. Anything occurring in your life that resonates with or substantiates those unsavory elements can be perpetuated by the inner destroyer's use of them to authenticate your inherent unworthiness. Naturally, the dual plane of third dimension that we lived most of our life within supports less and lack mentality. It is a validating force that fuels reminders of what we are not. Ego is very aware of the unsavory elements that the inner destroyer sequesters and plays off of them constantly. It's kind of like having a debasing recording running in the background, reminding you of past indiscretions and all the negative and limiting things that your ancestors thought and did. Although we actually don't hear this report audibly, it continually broadcasts in the background. And it sounds a little bit like this. In 1412, your ancestor murdered a man for taking his horse. He lied and said someone else did it. So they caught the other guy and hung him for something he didn't do. As a result, the hanged man's wife and 4 children died of starvation the following winter. Ooh, you're bad. For 5 generations, beginning in the year 17, your ancestors were slaves to a family that used them to steal the neighboring villagers' cattle and crops. When the 5th generation male was finally free, it was because he murdered 10 of the family members that owned him and then took their 9-year-old daughter prisoner. He emptied the gold from the family's coffers and sailed to another land with the girl. He tormented her for over 12 years before she died by his hand, but not before giving birth to a child. Now, that one female offspring of that union that continued your genetic heritage was abandoned at age 3. And survived through prostituting herself to soldiers and prison guards. Naturally, that story played extra loud if you ever had premarital sex, or you stole something, or you told a lie that got someone else in trouble, or anything really that could be linked to the theme of how bad you are, which can be associated to your genetic roots. So the whole purpose of this inner dialogue is for your actions and choices to be linked with the unsavory choices of your ancestors in an effort to validate the collective impression of your unworthiness. So what is the purpose of this inner destroyer? Is it a record keeper? Is it a naysayer that wants to keep you from reaching higher? That's always reminding you of your unsavory roots? Or is it a deeply disturbed part of self that just can't let go? Well, maybe it's all of those things. In any event, let's review what we do know about this mechanism. It hoards negative and limiting information about your ancestors, and it uses it to substantiate unworthiness within you. It reminds you of the unsavory elements of your genetics and is a source for ego to glean from whenever there is something within your current life experiences that reflects same or similar attitudes or behaviors to your ancestors' poor conduct. So my question is this: can this naysayer be shut off? Yes. Is there a way to finally access the embedded formatting that the inner destroyer has made inaccessible? Yes. There's a divine loophole that deactivates the inner destroyer 3 hours before your death, and we're going to use it. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to wait until I'm about to die to shut this thing off. Besides that, the loophole only works if there's a lingering stage of death leading to the final 3 hours. But that is the loophole that the yogis and Buddha used to reach supreme enlightenment. They brought themselves to near death, and after the inner destroyer deactivated, they restored vitality, and they lived. We're going to use a divine loophole to make that illusion appear to be a reality for the inner destroyer. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about Siddhartha Buddha for a second. Siddhartha and a group of 5 companions tried to find enlightenment through near total deprivation of worldly goods, including food and practicing self-mortification. After nearly starving himself to death by restricting his food intake to about a leaf or a nut per day, Buddha collapsed in a river while bathing and almost drowned. Siddhartha began to reconsider his path. Then he remembered a moment in childhood while he'd been watching his father start the season's plowing, and he'd fallen into a deep meditative state of profound stillness and concentration that was blissful and refreshing. Then, several days later, Siddhartha sat under a pipal tree, now known as the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, India, and he vowed to never arise until he had found the truth. After 49 days meditating, at the age of 35, Siddhartha Buddha attained supreme enlightenment. His wisdom and understanding of the universal laws and their applications were achieved in those 49 days of stillness, where he remained in meditation until 3 hours before his body's death, when the inner destroyer deactivated. Today you have the opportunity to embrace the deactivation of your inner destroyer by creating an illusion of your body maintaining a meditative state, just like Buddha did, in a profound stillness and concentration for 49 days. And in this charade, you will vow never to arise again until you have found the truth. To implement this charade, we'll enter the space between time where the inner destroyer will experience the full expanse of the experience of your commitment, even though it'll only take us about 25 or 30 minutes. To achieve this great gift and blessing, we'll utilize a new secret emancipation tool that's cloaked from any part of you that could alert the inner destroyer to our plan. The inner destroyer, or shall we call it the id, is going to believe that you're taking yourself to the brink of death in order to release from it, just as Siddhartha and the others have done. Because Buddha and others have achieved this freedom, this potential reality is held in collective consciousness as possible, and the ID, or id, knows that it can be done. To successfully achieve all of this, we're going to use holograms and other SVH tools to make this charade look so real that your inner destroyer is going to absolutely believe that you have reached the deactivation timeline. The ID or id will be amused by your efforts at first, but nearing the end stage, it will know it's lost the game. In the illusion of your near death, the voice of id will be silenced forever. And naturally, you're only playing a role in this charade, and no harm will come to you or any part of your physical and energy bodies, but you will achieve a new level of supreme enlightenment. One of the other things that we're going to do within the framework of the charade is implement some hard physical labor. The setting we put together for the inner destroyer will encompass several activities. The first is your meditating presence. Your energy body is going to sit under a tall redwood tree in the lotus position and begin its 49-day commitment. In fact, you will firm it up by making the same claim as Buddha made. I will no rise from this placement until I have found the truth. Now, at this point, the id will be unimpressed. It knows you inside and out, and to be perfectly honest, it knows your triggers and your perceived weaknesses, and it also knows that you likely lack the commitment to remain in meditation in the lotus position for 49 days with no food, water, or comforts. None of this matters because the charade that unfolds will show id a different you, a you that performs beyond its expectations. And then the next stage in the progression is where your meditative presence mentally scans a tall, rocky mountain in the foreground. The barriers and blocks that the id has sequestered throughout your life are projected as rocks within and on the mountain. One of the means for transporting them is for you to dig them out with your fingers and pick them up and put them in a big wagon and then pull that wagon up to the top of the mountain. You alone must dig out the rocks, and you alone must lift them onto the wagon. But you'll receive angelic assistance that is imperceptible to the id. Obviously, it's unrealistic for any one person to imagine that they can lift huge boulders onto a wagon and pull it on flat ground, let alone up a huge mountain. But there's a part of you that knows it can be done. That part of yourself is the encodements within your master genetics. And your id knows about those. Now, those encodements are part of a loophole that we're going to employ to activate your ability to move solid matter with mental directives. Each of the larger stones and monoliths that represent the genetic and current life barriers and blocks to your personal empowerment and emancipation from inner suppression are going to be moved onto the wagon through this means. However, the inner destroyer is going to see a holographic story that plays out a series of arduous means that you employ to lift and position the stones on the wagon. Naturally, all of these methods will reflect great ingenuity and the spirit of fortitude and resolve, all of which fosters believability. Your id will absolutely believe that your efforts and achievements are genuine over what appears to be a 49-day period of time. One of the features of the space between time is the absence of time. So throughout the progression of this glorious emancipation charade, I will direct you to start to lift a massive boulder, and then we'll move to where it's already on the wagon. So what you'll do is you'll bend down and you'll just put your hands on the boulder and you're ready to lift, but then we're going to move right to the completion of when it's already been lifted onto the wagon. Now, this fulfills several important criteria. Firstly, it fulfills the belief of the part of self that insists that removing the blocks needs to be hard. And then, of course, it supports the master genetic loophole, where we're able to move solid objects with our thoughts. And then we're using the start-finish points that fulfill your directive positioning in the space between time. It's all a masterful plan that allows for the inner destroyer to actually see you digging up and placing these barriers and blocks to your sacred path and purpose onto that wagon. But then it looks at the wagon and it knows that it's not going anywhere. How is it ever going to make it to the top of this mountain? But you will. Another loophole. So when the wagon is filled with rocks, you put the harness over your shoulders, just like you were a horse, and you begin to pull the wagon up the hill. Archangel Michael and an army of angels join you to gracefully and effortlessly pull the wagon to the top of the hill. Naturally, the id will perceive a different reality, one of a grueling journey to the top of the mountain, inching your way up with only your resolve to fuel each arduous step. Imagine how difficult it would be, as we said before, to even pull this huge wagon of rocks on flat ground, let alone straight up a hill. But you will reflect the entire journey for that inner destroyer, and it will believe you. Now, I'm going to tell you up front that God does not require you to struggle or drag this wagon up to the top of the hill. But somehow, something got wired in that says that you need to pay your dues, to make up for the sins of your fathers, to pay for something. I don't know what. But it's held in collective consciousness. So either way, these barriers and blocks are like rocks. With their pea-sized stones or their boulders, collective consciousness has played a hand in them staying put. No matter how much clearing we've done, they have remained. Since nothing else has budged those barriers, we might as well give this method a go. I guess the best reason to harness up and start pulling that wagon upward is because it's going to work. And when we're done, the fields of your life, that whole mountain, will be ready for the seeds to be fostered, and they will grow to provide you a fruitful harvest to support the great and glorious life that you're choosing. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain by moving through these different stages. So to begin, let's have you close your eyes and just take a breath. Release it slowly and imagine or see a door opening before you. This door is going to take you to a space between time where you're going to be able to create our charade for the inner destroyer. Go ahead and step through that door and find yourself at the base of a rocky mountain by a great tall redwood tree. Walk over and sit under this mighty tree and feel its wisdom radiating to you. Redwoods can live up to 5,000 or more years and they're virtually disease and insect resistant. This is a special redwood tree. It has lived over 100,000 years as a record keeper and tuning fork for your primordial heritage. It knows the story of your life and that of each of your ancestors. Let your auric field connect now with the mighty redwood. Just feel it stretch over and encompass the mighty redwood, and feel your awareness of the barriers and blocks that it has sequestered. Spur inner insights that will fuel the next stages of your mission of emancipation. Remember, nothing I say or you think can give away our plan to the id. None of the components of our charade can be heard by any part of you that would or could give away our plan. And so, sitting under the mighty redwood, you're going to make a mental claim that you'll reach supreme enlightenment before moving from this very spot. This claim is intentionally filtered to the id, which sets the stage for our charade. To make this firm claim, follow my words with your mind. I will no rise from this placement until I have found the truth. And now we begin our journey to enlightenment. Know that the id is going to be experiencing a holographic journey that appears to encompass the 49 days. In that 49-day charade, you will energetically and mentally traverse the rocky mountain before you, arduously unearth and load your wagon with stones of many size and weight. Each of these represents a deeply embedded barrier or block that has remained resistant because the id has held it from releasing. Each stone, once unearthed, will be lifted onto the wagon before you move upward to the apex of the mountain, which represents illumination. From your meditating presence under the redwood, watch an energy body representation of you separate from your seated self and see it walk over to the mountain. Pretend to see or imagine the terrain. There are small and large rocks scattered everywhere. Some are partly buried, some are sitting right on top of the ground, just waiting to be loaded onto the wagon. It's going to be a really big job for one person to clear the ground of this whole huge mountain, because it's a gigantic mass. In fact, to imagine clearing something this big all by yourself in 49 days is ridiculous, but it's going to be easy for you. The first place to start is to assure that you continue to focus your conscious awareness on your meditating self under the redwood tree. That part of you now looks up at the mountain and with superhuman capabilities sees all the areas of the great mass before you, inside and above the ground. Your X-ray vision linked with the great redwood tree that knows all about you and your genetic heritage. Instantly identifies the many stones in all shapes and sizes which have remained untouched by any clearing mechanisms available to our world as yet. The id has captured them and held them hostage from you, and now you are here to take back what is yours and transform it. Your consciousness is in the space between time right now. An equivalent of 49 days or 49 years can pass in a blink of an eye here. But the id will experience the full expression of those days, and it will believe that you are brought to the brink of death. In fact, it will believe that you are truly reaching the final chapter of your story, and the inner destroyer in that moment will deactivate. Meanwhile, only a few minutes will pass for you, and the whole experience will be an illusion, except for the fact that you will have unearthed millions of barriers and blocks that were previously undetectable and unreformable. Release these blocks assist you to achieve new levels of supreme enlightenment. So let's start digging. Your X-ray vision has identified all the stones, or in the SVH vernacular, embedded formats that have been held from your awareness by the inner destroyer. You remain under the great redwood tree in the lotus position in deep meditation on a mental mining expedition that your energy body will perform. The inner destroyer won't be alarmed that you can see the blocks and boulders at first, because it won't believe that you can unearth them all anyway. To the inner destroyer, it's too big of a task for any one being to uncover this much debris. It would take a whole lifetime, and you're just sitting under the tree meditating. So let's see how the id handles the excavation in 49 days. To begin, remain under the tree in deep meditation and mentally direct that energy body that stepped from you to walk over to that mountain and begin collecting the smallest stones first. So the energy body is walking over now to the base of the mountain, and it gets to the base of the mountain now, and of course, as the stones are going to be lifted up, they're going to be put onto the wagon. So see your energy body bending down now to pick up the first stone, and of course, placing it on the wagon. At first, the task is simple. You just bend over, pick up a stone, you put it on the wagon, bend over, pick up a stone, put it on the wagon. Everywhere you look, there's all these little rocks and pebbles, so just start picking up all the ones that you can see, perceive, or pretend to see, just around that area by the wagon. Imagine what a huge job this is going to be. You're only just around that one little spot by the base of the hill and where the wagon is sitting. But, of course, we're looking at the whole mountain now. And you're going to harvest every single one of those little stones before moving to the larger ones. Don't want you to be intimidated by this task, because in the space between time, we can seamlessly move the progression of the project to different stages. Let's do it now. Reach down and fill your whole hand with these little pebbles. Just put 5, 6, 10, however many fits in your hand. And then what I'd like you to do is mentally define your next stage to be where the wagon is filled with the small stones, completely full, and you automatically reposition to imagine, see, or pretend to see a filled wagon, filled with stones that represent the barriers and blocks in your life. They may be genetic stone blocks or imprints from perceptions and experiences of this life. Whatever they are, you've got a full wagon. You're now ready to start moving that wagon to the top. You're going to put the harness over your shoulder and hitch yourself to that wagon just like a horse and start pulling it to the top of the mountain. There's a place on the top that represents freedom, and those blocks are going to transform there. As we mentioned before, it is quite amused, but you start pulling the wagon anyway, and you can do it. In fact, you are. It's light as a feather. Look around. Unbeknownst to the id, a host of angels headed up by Archangel Michael are all helping you. Hey, this is fun. Let's just race up to the top. It'll still look like it took you a long time to the id, but let's just race right up. And in just a couple of seconds, you've reached the very top of that big mountain. And now that you're at the top, let's dump your load of rocks. And then just roll your wagon back to the bottom of the mountain. Just let it go, and the angels will make sure that it gets positioned in the perfect spot for your next loading expedition. Of course, you and the angels are now going to kind of clear a space on the top of the mountain. You're going to clear some ground in preparation for repositioning all these barriers and blocks that you're bringing up. For very long, a huge area is going to be cleared because with your mind, you're moving to where the whole base of the top part of the mountain is cleared. You and the angels made swift work of laying a stone foundation at the very apex of the mountain. I wonder what you're going to build. In any event, you have more stones to collect, and you're the only one that can do that part. So you walk back down to the wagon. You start walking and move to where you are at the wagon. See how quick and easy this is? You move to where, and you're there. So go ahead and start filling the wagon again, only this time we're going to be playing with the stages of the project some more. Pick up a rock and put it on the wagon. And as the rock touches the bottom of the cart, mentally choose to move to where the maximum load is achieved, and you and the angels are just reaching the top of the mountain. As the angels and you make short work of unloading the rocks on the top of the mountain, you're next going to move to where you have fully cleared the mountain of all small stones. But first, let's look down at your meditative presence under the redwood tree. You are glowing. The divine light pouring into your crown is spilling over onto the wholeness of your meditating self. You can see the peace that each collected stone brings, even though none of the clearing has been completed as far as reformatting. It feels incredibly emancipating for you to have collected this many stones. So you reach tirelessly down and pick up the last small stone right now. Place it on the wagon and mentally define your next stage to be where you are placing the mountain's last small stone onto the wagon. The wagon has been filled many times and hauled to the top of the mountain, and this is your final stage of collecting small stones. An equivalent of several days has passed for the meditative self, but your unstoppable task has been fueled by the radiance pouring into the crown and your dedication to the mission. Harness yourself to the wagon and begin your long trek upwards. As before, you reach the top before you can blink. All those angels are assisting to just make it such light work. But the id sees you struggle for many hours just to pull the wagon 1 or more feet. At this time, the id is amused still, but many days have gone past and you have collected all the small stones. But id thinks, surely you won't be able to budge even one of those large stones. So it sits under the tree beside your meditative presence and watches the charade that you perform for it, all the while believing that the arduous tests that you perform are very, very real. Meanwhile, at the top of the mountain, your angels assist you to dump the last of the wagon of small stones. The grounds are taking shape up on top. The last of those stones is now being positioned as a rectangular base for a structure to be built upon. Hundreds and hundreds of trips hauling the wagon up the mountain have gleaned a substantial base for a glorious temple to be built upon. New legions of architectural angels have been preparing the landscape and the foundations for your temple. It will be a glorious temple, a lighthouse onto the world. Soon the large blocks of stone that you unearth will make up the walls and the smooth floors and the very seat of wisdom that your levels of supreme enlightenment will bud from. It's time to begin unearthing those larger stones. Go ahead and start walking down the mountain. Your energy body is moving very swiftly down to the wagon. We're going to begin with the larger stones that can be lifted first. So just tirelessly bend down to pick up the first of them, please. Pretty heavy, but do your best. And kind of carry it over to the wagon and lift it up there and load it. Oh, man, that was heavy. Let's lift another one, but this time, let's get a whole wagon full. We're going to be expedient diggers. So go ahead right now and bend down to pick up another one of those medium to large stones. And as you do, just as you're starting to lift, I'd like you to mentally direct to the next stage of where the wagon is full. Go ahead now and harness that wagon to your back. Just place those big harnesses around your shoulders and let's begin to pull. But at first it seems impossible to move. Pulling. Gosh, it's not even moving, even with the angel's assistance. Pull harder. It's about to budge. It's budging a little. The wheels are starting to turn. But then, just like that, the wagon becomes as light as air. Just like before. And in no time at all, you reach the top. Look at the wonder before you. The floor and the sides of the great temple are beginning to take shape. And guess what? You have fulfilled a great part of releasing those barriers and blocks because of that part of you that has the belief that it has to be really hard and it just is going to be really arduous to get rid of the programs and beliefs and all these things that have been locked into collective consciousness and locking back into your barriers. These stones, these rocks that have been sequestered by the inner destroyer. So now what you've also done is you've logged into the energy record that you have struggled, that you have fought and worked diligently to get rid of these barriers and blocks. And that assists us to spread that record throughout the full functions of what we're about to complete with the even bigger blocks. So now, just to finish up these medium to large blocks, what I'd like you to do is imagine yourself in all the different stages. Now, it'll look like there's a whole bunch of energy bodies of yours all around the whole mountain. So you've got a whole army of you out there. Now, it looks like it's all happening at once, but it's really set up in stages. So I'd like you to, just from the top of the mountain, look down and see yourself looking at all the energy bodies of you down by your little wagons. And, of course, in each of those stages, you're going to bend down and pick up a rock. And as you're bending down and picking it up in each of the stages, you are going to move to where it is loaded onto the wagon and the wagon is filled. Each of the wagons is clear, completely filled. And there were enough wagons all around that mountain to encompass the full range of every single medium to large barrier and block that you have been unable to rescript or reformat with any modality up until this moment. This is pretty exciting. Go ahead and put that harness on in each of those placements and begin to tug. Give yourself a big tug like you're really going to put your back into it. And then let those angels help you. Roll them right up to the top of the mountain. And of course, they're moving up in their own stages. And we'll just let go of what the timing looks like in a space where there is no time. We'll just let it happen. We'll let those barriers and blocks be handled by those angel architects. As a matter of fact, if you turn around and look, that temple is coming along pretty good. So now what we want to do to complete the temple is to unearth the remaining blocks. And when we've completed that task, the temple can be completed and the blocks transformed. So let's bring your attention once again to your meditating presence under the tall redwood tree. And feel your energy body at the top of the mountain, connecting with that sacred record keeper. Feel yourself knowing the remaining blocks that are buried within the mountain. From your lofty presence on the mountain, feel yourself become the X-ray field, reading the upper and interior range of the mountain. You know, at this very moment, every barrier and block that has stopped you and blocked you from reaching supreme enlightenment. These are the blocks that we're choosing to have released right now. So go ahead and have your energy body walk down to that first block that we're going to release. You're going to be digging out the boulders and huge blocks of stone that have been buried deeply or right in plain view. You're going to see the stages. And in each placement, you're going to be digging and raising the stones with your might and your sheer will to do so. Of course, the angels will assist, but you alone raise the blocks of boulders from the mountain, and you alone elevate them onto the wagon by bending over to lift and then mentally moving to where the big stone block is already loaded on the wagon. So let's do one together. Select one of the mighty blocks and begin digging it out with your fingers, pulling the soil away from the edges of the rock. Just dig. Just get down on your hands and knees and start digging. Start moving the dirt, digging deeper and deeper until you've reached the bottom edge of the stone on all sides. So keep digging. The ground just becomes fluffy and soft and easy. And if you look up, Archangel Michael is doing that. I don't know what his secret is, but all of a sudden some really hard ground is becoming very soft and fluffy. My goodness, with a little whisk broom, you could sweep all that dust away. I told you the angels were going to help. So as you've reached the whole bottom edge of this huge monolith stone, what I'd like you to do is just bend over and put your fingers under the edge and lift. Now mentally move to where the rock is on the wagon. And there you go. That's as easy as it is. Goodness knows what your inner destroyer is seeing. But that's about as hard as it's going to get on our end. Go ahead now and look down at your meditating self under the tree and see that smile on your lips. It's getting close. We're almost complete with this mission. Let your linked minds pinpoint every rock with your X-ray vision. And as we did before, segment your energy body to every placement that you have identified a barrier and block. These are the monolith stones, which basically means that you're raising the deepest and biggest limitations that you'll likely face in this life. These aren't made up of your stuff. It's the old genetic stories of your ancestors. And though these experiences are honored, it's time to be rid of them. In each stage of your energy body placements, begin digging the stone out with your fingers. Archangel Michael is assisting, and it only takes seconds to reach the bottom edge of each stone. Now bend your energy body and lift in each placement. Now mentally moving to where the rock is in the wagon. Very good. Throughout each placement on this mountain, there is a stage with a full wagon. And every single barrier and block, every huge monolith stone of limiting belief systems and programs and imprints that have been limiting you from your personal expansion are now loaded. It's now time to move them up to the top of the mountain. Feel the divine light that pours into the crown chakra of your meditating self. Fuel your superhuman strength and will in each of those placements around the mountain, cloaking the angels and supporting the charade of your tasks, and your seemingly insurmountable undertaking of pulling each wagon to the top of the mountain. As the stages unfold easily and gracefully for you, I'd like you to hear the tones of light that tinkle like crystalline chandeliers from up above. As you draw the last wagon in that final stage up to the top of that mountain, witness the angels using vibrations from the tones of light to position the large blocks of stone that are easily moving into place to form your sacred temple. This is a temple to spirit, a temple to light and freedom and awareness. Imagine the wonder of this undertaking. The very blocks that have stood in your way of focus and clarity and master awareness are even now transforming into your temple of enlightenment. See, imagine, or pretend to see the grace and light that this temple represents. See your meditative presence under the redwood tree. It is nearly 49 days from the start of this mission, and your meditating body is nearly transparent. The inner destroyer is reaching its final moments of being active. It has been hoping to break your concentration all this time, but it failed. All of its efforts to distract you were unknown or unseen by you because all of them played out in a holographic representation that you were totally untouched by. The inner destroyer does not know that its voice has been muted this whole time because the illusion we created for it to witness has represented your centered, unbroken focus. No matter how unrelenting the id's tactics, your mind remained focused on identifying and removing the blocks. And now you're nearly done. See, the excavation phase is complete. The transport of stones to the top of the mountain complete. From your placement at the apex of the mountain, direct the completion of your temple. Open your hands and allow the crown chakra to just receive this exquisite installation of divine light. And as it pours through you, feel the energy move through your hands and radiate onto the temple. Mentally move to the end of that stage, and with hands uplifted, see the final stone set into place. This signals the final moments of the id's activation as well. But before you return to your energy body, allow yourself to be joined by Archangel Michael and step into the temple. Allow yourself to walk gracefully into that glorious, glistening space. And as you step into the temple itself, feel, just with your energy field, all of the blocks and barriers that make up this temple. Soon they will be transformed by golden light. But right now, just honor all that was playing a major role in the development of these barriers and blocks. Let's honor the life and the lives of all of the aspects of your genetic lineage. And as you walk into this sacred space, let your auric field spread out and your imagination activate, allowing yourself to see and define the embellishments within this sacred space. Keep the very centermost point of the temple free. That little knoll that stands as a reminder of the peak of your journey, the peak of enlightenment. It is the apex of your mountain. And in a little bit, when we return back from the base of the mountain, you and the Greater are going to transform all of these barriers and blocks that are here. They're going to be transformed into crystal and gold, made into pristine light, and all that shines through these stones from the great sun above is going to be radiating through in streams of golden light. Go ahead and pause this program for now so that you can take this time to design and define the inner temple. It's now time to return your energy body to your meditating presence beneath the mighty redwood. Your body is fully sustained and vibrantly alive and buzzing with excitement. But the inner destroyer only sees a withering shell of a being that is reaching its end phase of life. The id circles your meditative presence, pondering your life. And as it does, it looks up to the mountain in wonder. It knows that it's lost the game, and it begins to resign. It looks once more up at the mountain, and then at you. Its face has changed from one of resignation to a look of admiration for you. Your meditating presence opens its eyes and looks upon the inner destroyer. At some level, know that it celebrates you. Go ahead and feel the deactivation and release of id. Feel it let go and feel it stop. Feel the inner destroyer cease to exist within you. Each of the stones and barriers and blocks that the inner destroyer held from your awareness and from their ability to transmute were identified and unearthed and transported to the top of the mountain, where they were used to build your enlightenment temple. These stones will be transitioned to crystal and gold and are going to be instilled with the foundational element of spirit. This temple will serve as a sacred vessel of truth for your new story to seed within. After all, the temple is you. All this while that you have been 49 days in meditation and in introspection, you've expanded your awareness just as Buddha did. In this illusion, we can claim all that was inspired by this 49-day infusion of divine light and activation of your awareness. We're going to be claiming all that you received in this space. To do that, we'll go ahead and climb up the mountain now. You know this mountain inside and out. Look upon it, see its beauty, love it in all stages, and begin your auspicious climb to the top. Feel the smooth ground under your feet and recognize the great service you have implemented for your journey and for the whole of humanity. You are enough. You're more than enough. You are more. As you begin your ascent, feel the soft grass under your feet. Feel how clear and smooth all of the terrain has become. Instantly, wildflowers burst up from the ground, and butterflies begin dancing on the breeze. This is a wonderland. Your climb to the top is filled with such joy. It wells up within you as you climb higher and higher. And you know the pleasure of the freedom you have gained. As you walk up this great mountain, know that you are one of the first in this world who have achieved this goal of release of the barriers and blocks that have been held in collective consciousness and have been held by collective consciousness and the inner destroyer. The release of them has freed you. You have been emancipated from them. As you reach the top, survey your glorious temple. Look upon it and know that the angels have created it, but it was you who unearthed every single stone. It was you and the angels who pulled the wagon up to the top. And as the angels transformed your temple into a great space of light for you to expand within, you are ready for it. You're ready for it in this life. Enter your temple. Enter your temple, and in following you will be thousands of angels. In the center of the temple is a holy mound. It is the pinnacle point, the very apex of your journey's mountain. Step up to it and stand on that very spot, allowing your body to form a triangle of selves, 3 of you in all, standing shoulder to shoulder, creating a delta. From each placement, the 3 elements of you are a distinct part that can be considered separate and yet in union with the wholeness of self. You are remembering how to see all, know all, and express all, expressing life purposefully as a master in motion. Connect with your unified self now. Each part of self in that triad is one, and yet each is viewing a distinct section of the temple and the wholeness of it through the collective knowing that is budding within. Survey the stones, top to bottom, and feel the smaller stones under the foundation. Each of these has played a role in your life, and each is ready to be transformed now. What a gift you have at your fingertips. What a gift the transformation of these small and mammoth blocks will be for your life. And what a gift your release of them will be for the world. You are showing the world how to evolve to supreme levels of enlightenment in ease and grace, and in a manner that is free of deprivation and hardship. You are a leader. The temple is filling with angels and masters of light that have come to celebrate this advancement. Like Buddha, Jesus, Germain, and all other self-realized masters, you climb to reach enlightenment, and you stand within your temple on the apex point. Look upon the blocks and see them reflected onto a screen projected before you. All that anchored, supported, allowed, and sponsored these blocks are loaded onto the screen, along with a special 5th-dimensional clearing tool that was created specifically to release the formatting that the inner destroyer has kept locked away. This tool is exclusive to seminar registrants that have completed the sacred journey. It is designed to lay new foundations of this enlightenment temple in your new life, your new story, and in your sacred journey to supreme enlightenment. Silently ask the Creator if it is in divine alignment for the Creator to implement this clearing and the life-elevating profiles that you are choosing. When you receive an affirmative sense or knowing, simply think yes and watch as the stones beneath your feet and all around you transform to crystal and gold. Feel the radiance that flows onto the mound you stand upon, as your 3 distinct selves unify into one. We have stood in the Creator's radiance and in the Shekinah radiance. And now you stand in the radiance of your most exalted Master Self. Your soul's radiance and the illumination of self at your own ascension moment in the future are the elements radiating here. This is your inner temple. You have created it today. It is with you and within you always. It is you. The radiance infusing into your mound is love. Bathe in its glorious essence and know the truth of self, the truth of your purpose, your new story. Feel the life that you're choosing flooded with creation energy right now to fuel the new story that you are claiming. Feel the seeds of it planted in every stage of your life. You are aware of the entire vision of your new story, your new life. You don't need to micromanage it. You don't need to know every detail of it so that you can write it down. It just is. Your new story is instilled into the very core of you through the radiance that flows through every facet of your oneness, through your physical body, your energy body. Know that all of the stages of enlightenment that you reached in that 49 days have been playing a huge role in laying the foundation for your story. Your future ascending self and your higher consciousness and the soul are all playing a major role in the installation of your story. It must be the most glorious story ever written or told. It's your story. You have written it yourself in that 49 days. And in those levels of supreme awareness, linked with your soul and your higher consciousness and the Creator and your master intellect, you wrote every phase of this next stage in your journey. So what about this new story? What are you going to create from it? You already have a focused vision from Teleseminar 1, and from Teleseminar 2, you're mastering the easy steps to isolate and fuel the ideal scenarios of your life, like Buddha and the other masters did. Those priceless tools are something that you will utilize throughout your life to manifest the ideal of everything. Master them. Master them because you can, and because they are the keys to your supreme enlightenment. It isn't necessary to be deprived and to nearly die to release barriers to the kingdom of heaven. Of course, that helped us today, that we had a hologram that made it look like you were struggling. But the truth is that there are many paths to enlightenment, and today you stepped onto a very graceful one. But that's the way SVH works. Easy and graceful and purposeful, with no alliance with drama, trauma, imbalance, or hardship. Your choices and the life you live are by your design. We are no judged by the Creator for our actions or experiences, so why should we judge ourselves or others? We're celebrated and supported, so let's start celebrating right along with the Creator. Let's do a happy dance with Archangel Michael every chance we get. None of us is meant to live in a bubble. We're meant to create our reality and to experience what we create. We're all perfect, expressing different flavors of that perfection. Today, we created a temple out of barriers and blocks. Let us never look upon this temple as anything but pristine love, because that is what we have created today. You are one of a handful of beings on this world that stands free of a pain body and free of an inner destroyer. All that is aligned with that old paradigm of the pain body is gone. So if your neck starts feeling better and you feel more relaxed, it's because you are free of the pain body, can never redevelop again, nor can the inner destroyer reactivate. You are free to evolve to supreme levels of enlightenment and to complete your purpose. Our ultimate purpose is to see the essence of Creator in everything, including ourselves, the id, the ego, and any and all of the crazy stuff we've manifested into our life. It's all just experiences. So go dive off the top of your mountain and fly. And don't let anything stop you. You can't get it wrong. So just go out and live. Live and express yourself and allow yourself to be in the radiance at every moment. Call upon it. It's a trigger process that was activated by the clearing screen a moment ago. All you have to do is think, my radiance, and you will be aligned and infused and instilled with the radiance of your soul and your future ascended master self's vibration, which reflects to you the truth of your pristine nature of self. Celebrate your mastery. Celebrate your excellence. And celebrate your freedom. Until our next segment of the New Life series, I Can. Namaste.
Now that you have completed this recording, you are ready to access your online post-seminar coaching session. It is recommended that you revisit all or part of this seminar to receive enhanced benefit from the progressive clearing profiles.